What's going on, Kings? It's Keefe. This video you're getting ready to watch is the video that I wish somebody had made about frame when I first started learning about social dynamics and intersexual dynamics. Because if you're like me, this concept made no sense to you for the longest time. But what happened for me though was I finally woke up one day and it just occurred to me, holy shit, like I'm holding frame in every aspect of my life. And with that came the realization of what frame was and how you can actually achieve it for yourself. So in this video, you are going to learn how to develop that masculine frame that a high value man has. So frame has two core aspects to it. The first of these two core aspects is that frame is the interpretation of reality that is accepted. And a great example of frame and a battle over which frame is going to be accepted as the dominant frame is occurring on a macro scale right now in the media. For just about all of television history until the last decade or so, the mainstream media has been controlled by several networks, and those networks were able to push a certain frame on everybody because they controlled all the information. This meant that our interpretation of events, and therefore the frame in which we were interpreting reality through, was controlled by these large media networks. And this is how the mainstream media throughout time has been able to sway public opinion. Now what we have is alternative forms of media and news, things like podcasts or just independent news platforms that have their own frame. And the reason that most people are struggling to figure out what the truth is in situations has less to do with the actual facts and more to do with the frame or lack of a dominant frame in our society. Because there is no dominant frame to interpret reality through, there is just mass confusion about what the truth is. And until one of these narratives that's playing out right now wins this big frame war that's going on, and it does so by coalescing enough people behind that frame and making that frame the most dominant, strongest frame, we are going to have rising conflicts all over the place because people have different interpretations of reality that are running into each other. Now let's take this down to a micro aspect to your own personal life. Let's say you're interacting with a girl. If you approach an attractive girl to try and get her number, she's gonna have a frame in which she is interpreting reality through, and you are also going to have a frame in which you are interpreting reality through. Her interpretation of reality might be, this guy wants me, he's gonna have to really prove himself to me if I'm going to give him my number. And the sad thing is most guys are walking into this situation and have already bought into that frame as well themselves, which means they are not holding frame over their own lives. How many guys disqualify themselves from a girl before they even approach her to begin with? It might keep them from approaching her in the first place, and that means they lost the frame right off the bat. Now, let's say this guy actually does manage to keep a frame about himself. He has his own inner frame, and he's walking up to the girl thinking, I'm an attractive guy, she should be happy that I'm approaching her. Now what's going to happen is these two frames are going to run into conflict with each other. The girl thinks she's the special one, she's the one that he needs to convince why he's worth her time, and the guy's over here thinking that he's attractive, he's worth her time, he's got value. So now we've got two frames going up against each other, and whichever frame wins is going to be the dominant interpretation of reality, and it's going to determine how events unfold. So in this instance, if the guy walked up and he was feeling kind of confident, but the girl blows him off and convinces him to adopt her frame of reality, which is he needs to prove his worth to her and she's better than him, and he starts putting her on the pedestal, that's going to be one way in which events are going to unfold. If he shows up and he's confident he can hold that frame against the test that she throws at him and he gets her to buy into his frame, then she might give him his number and they might start going on dates because she's going to think, oh wow, this guy is actually a confident, attractive guy, and it's because his frame of reality won. Now the first aspect of frame, as we've already touched on, had to do with the interpretation of reality, and this second has to do with your decision making. Now typically, if you hold frame in one of these, you can hold it in the second one very easily. And really all elements of frame that people will discuss are pretty much grounded in these two things: your interpretation of events and the decisions you make. So when it comes to decision making frame, the person who makes a decision and stands by that in any given circumstance is the one with frame. For example, if you see some doormat husband and his wife, the wife's making all the decisions and he's just going along with it. So who has the frame? The wife has the frame. And the thing about this is this decision-making frame can be so strong that in certain circumstances like that, it is just understood who has the frame. So in that case, the husband's not even going to question what the wife says. If the wife says, we're going to eat here, this is where I want to eat, he's just going to go along with it because her frame of decision-making has been adopted as the correct frame. Another example of this is if you're making a decision based on what your parents want you to do rather than what you want to do, you have given your parents' frame. Now, the crazy thing about this is sometimes even when you are making your own decisions, you don't actually have frame because the decisions aren't your own. They've been programmed into you by maybe society or just some force outside of yourself that has convinced you to see things in a certain way. And so your decisions are actually controlled by the frame of your society. The question then becomes, how do you develop this frame? Like I said, I just kind of woke up one day and this concept of frame all of a sudden made sense to me because I realized I was living it out in my own life. I realized that I was interpreting reality for myself, and I also realized that I was making the decisions that I wanted to make and they were true to me. So then the question just became, okay, how did I do that? And what I realized was that your ability to hold frame as a man in any area of your life, when you're approaching a girl, when you're in a relationship with a girl, when you're dealing with friends and family, whatever it is in your own personal life over the decisions you're going to make, it is all directly related to how in alignment you are with your purpose. Because here's what happens. If you are truly on your purpose in this world, it is going to force you to interpret all of reality through that lens. And your purpose is true to you. It is not a societal construct. Most of the time, it is going to play right along with the society that you find yourself in, but it is something that is true to you and it is deep within you and you kind of bring it out. But when it comes to interpretation, let's say that your purpose on this earth is to become an actor and you need to drop out of college and go to some acting school, or you need to go out to Los Angeles and figure out how you're going to get into movies or whatever it is. You're going to have a different interpretation and a frame that is strong enough to stand up to the fact that the majority of people around you are going to think you're crazy. They're going to think that you're dropping out of college. That's a horrible idea because the majority thinks that let's go get the 4-year degree and all that. And I'm not saying that's not the correct decision if that's your personal frame and you're on your purpose. But the point of this is to say that that frame is going to be defined by your purpose if you start doing new things and following your purpose. And because that, you will have to get a grip on your interpretation of reality, and it will change and it will become defined by you and your purpose on this earth. I mean, if you think about it, how are you going to actually walk up to a girl who you think's attractive and truly believe and have that frame and that interpretation of reality that says, I'm an attractive guy, I'm worth this girl, she should be interested in me, if you know deep down you're not even living your purpose as a man and you're just kind of doing what other people told you to do and nothing about your life is really that passionate and inspiring? Your purpose is going to require you to control the decision-making frame in your own life as well. It's going to require you to say no to a lot of things. And in doing so, you are imposing frame, and you are going to disappoint a lot of people who had their frame put upon you. And these are the people who expected you to live in a certain way that fit within their frame. And that frame includes both parts of frame we've already touched on. The fact that you would go along with the decisions they want you to do for your life, and also their interpretation of reality that you should accommodate them in your life. And like I said, you are going to be making your own decisions, and that is your frame. It's not going to be defined by society. And as I said, it is usually like 99% of the time, your purpose on this earth is going to have something to do with really rising up in society and doing something great within society. But it's your own thing. It's not society telling you to do it. It is called out of you. I believe that each one of us has a purpose on this earth, but that purpose is almost always going to involve us at our fullest expression being high value winners in this world. Because at the end of the day, nature did not make you to be a loser. I mean, why would it? Nature wants strong winners to survive and reproduce, and this is why nature always tests us and throws challenges up in our way, because one, it's building that frame within us of strength and decision making and clarity, and it's also making us the kind of man who's capable of achieving his purpose in the first place. And what's going to happen is all along the path of your purpose, and the closer you get to it, you are going to find your strength, and with it, you're going to find your frame. You might be able to fake having frame in a social situation for a night, but if you truly want to have real frame over your life and make it a true part of who you are, you have to stand up to nature's challenges and follow follow your purpose. And in doing so, the battle is going to harden your mind. And one day you're going to wake up and realize that you don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about what you're doing. You're going to have conviction when you speak, and that conviction is going to cause people to fall into your frame and your interpretation of reality. And you will make decisions that serve why you are here and not the wishes of other people who want to control you. The more you are on your purpose, the more you will find frame in everything that you do.